Recap in minutes. In today's video, we will be enjoying an action drama film, entitled Escape in Mogadishu. There will be spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie begins in 1987, when the Korean government dispatched officials to the Somalian capital of Mogadishu, marking the start of the film. Because Africa at the time had the greatest voting rights in the UN, North and South Korea anticipated that the Somalian government would support them in their dispute over who would have a seat there. Han, the South Korean ambassador to Somalia, takes a photo with University of Somalia students to demonstrate how the South Korean government has assisted the University of Somalia in advancing its technological research. At the Mogadishu International Airport, Councillor Kang Dae-jin appears and waits to present Han with a briefcase. Soon after, Han and Kang show up, examine the contents of the briefcase, and then reboard their vehicle to proceed to the presidential palace. Kang travels to the South Korean embassy by cab while doing so. However, rebels seize Han of his briefcase and shoot a tire on his vehicle, leaving Han and his companions stranded on the roadway. Han examines their driver Swama, who has suffered a head injury. Han advises Swama to wait until assistance arrives. After that, Han and Secretary Gong Soo-chul run to the palace. They arrive virtually out of breath, and Gong, who has diabetes, immediately loses his vitality. Han inquires as to whether he requires insulin right now, but Gong assures him that he is fine and offers him chocolates instead. When Han arrives at the palace, the staff informs him that because they were 15 minutes late, their meeting with the president has been cancelled. Han inquires of the palace personnel as to why they were only given 15 minutes. Han learns that the next meeting is with North Korea when he observes Ambassador Rim and Councillor Tae Junkie being brought through the palace by palace servants. Tae Junkie visits a slum in the evening and offers the children their food and school supplies. Later, he acknowledges that he ordered the rebels to take the suitcase out of South Korea. In the North Korean embassy late at night, Rim opens the bag while giving himself an insulin shot and saying that he sees no use in ruining the South Korean appointment. Han's wife gives Swama food for his family and herbal treatment for his wound while she is at the South Korean embassy. Han, meantime, is certain that the NKs are to blame for the briefcase's disappearance. Then, Han answers a call from their minister, who requests an update. Unable to inform him of their failed meeting with the president, he poses as being at a construction site in order to have the conversation as soon as possible. Kang paid a journalist to publish pictures of rebels brandishing North Korean-made weapons, and later admitted to paying the journalist. Though Kang believes it is immaterial because Africa is already at war, Han has his own concerns. If word spreads, they believe the president will support South Korea. The following day, Han is supposed to meet with the Somalian foreign minister in the hotel's restaurant. As he promised Han that Somalia would back South Korea's application to join the UN, the foreign minister of Somalia appeared nonchalant about the impending war. Han considers the idea after giving it some thinking, but Kang declines, saying they can't just use their operation fund. In the courtyard of the hotel, Rim had one final conversation with the foreign minister of Somalia. Han confronts Rim about their sabotage of South Korea, but Rim insists that South Koreans are spreading false information about North Korea arming rebels. They engage in mutually harmful activity while debating the virtues of diplomacy. Then, suddenly, shots are fired and explosions happen outside the hotel. As rioting guards demand the release of their Islamic bosses, the civilians take charge. After citizens set off smoke bombs in the courtyard, Rim, Han, and the councillors seek safety inside the hotel. In the SK embassy that evening, Gong, the translator, the female employee, and Han's wife prayed for their protection. They check on the doorbell while praying. Gong carries Swama to their room when they discover him on the ground covered in blood. Swama is a rebel, they learn after cleaning him, thanks to his handkerchief. A Somali police squad approaches the South Korean embassy's gate and requests access to the building in order to search for one of the riot's organizers. In time, Han and Gong come and warn the cop that police cannot just walk onto Korean government property. If the police unit doesn't stop pestering them, Han threatens to contact the police chief. Han then displays his ID when the cop requests one. Following the police unit's departure, SK secretary reveals Swama's true identity. He leaves the room as soon as they enter it to see him. Swama runs away in the meantime, but the cops catch him after giving him a severe head blow. While the police ignore him, Swama perishes on the highway. The president's dictatorship was challenged the following day by protesting citizens. While the general of the United Somali Congress sends faxes carrying the truth to all embassies. The embassies assisted the president's regime in repressing Somalians' rights. They think that by eliminating the president, an unethical and corrupt administration will be eliminated. Whether they are allies of Somalians is up to the embassies to decide. Kang is currently snarled in traffic because of the chaos on the road. Civilians are fighting over food, while the police are abusing defenseless people. After verifying his ID, a guard grants him passage. Han eventually spots him amid the traffic and informs him that the travel agency, banks, and offices are all closed in addition to the Somalia FM leaving the nation. The pair chooses to go back to their embassy. People on the street are protesting and accusing the cops of being attacked. They walk by the Korean embassies while hurling stones and setting fire to their entrances. In their respective embassies, the employees of SK and NK simultaneously burn all documents pertaining to the Somali government. They lose contact with everything outside, including their phones and connections. Kang advises that the SK staff broadcast a recording of the community event over the loudspeakers to let the Somalian know they are friends. The military of Somalia suddenly drives up in tanks and starts shooting at every civilian in the street. Both the NK and SK embassies were scarred by the aftermath. The general will reward whomever captures or reports the president and his officers, and anyone who seeks safety and protection can surrender to us now. The USC announces that night as both embassies listen to radio transmissions from the USC. Kang then explains that what was happening outside is a civilian uprising and not a civil war because insurgents are still not participating. They are currently stranded and cut off from Seoul. Later, the previous cop entertains Kang and the translator when they visit the police station. Kang requests senior officers, but the cop replies that they are occupied. He goes on to say that because Somalia is experiencing a national emergency, diplomatic privileges are not valid. Kang screams at the cop, telling him that he has no right to treat him disrespectfully. "You're in my jurisdiction, so you don't make the decisions here," the cop warns as he abruptly clamps his gun to Kang's forehead. Kang requests the translator to convey his message after spotting the commissioner observing from the balcony. He honks his car's horn and yells, "Arrest me. I am a Kang. I'm here to bring an official message from the embassy." Kang even helps hold the gun to the cop's forehead while the cop smacks him in the head, daring the cop to shoot him. The cop is threatened by Kang, who uses the translator's translation, regarding his relationships with the Somalia commissioner. Somalia's police make a meager salary, and if insurgents take over the embassies, there won't be any extra money to help the officers feed their family. Finally, Kang is able to persuade him to provide them with police protection. The Mogadishu rebels took control of the city on December 30, 1990, arming everyone and chasing down all the police and soldiers before hanging them in the middle of the street. Tourists are waiting for an evacuation plane in the airport. The SK team tries to get in touch with the Korean embassy in Kenya but is unable. Later, all airports in Somalia are shut down by the government until other nations send planes to pick up their citizens. RIM and the NK personnel are left at the NK embassy with nothing to eat. The defense official in charge of issuing travel authorizations fled the city, but the NK counselor promises that his informants will find some for them. NK counselor ultimately runs into the rebel leader who had previously given the order to grab the briefcase. Unfortunately, the rebel leader deserts him, robbing the NK embassy of its last possessions, including RIM's medications. Children who are clutching weapons that are larger than them are also taking part in the raid. NK counselor makes an attack on the rebels but is ultimately defeated. Before departing, the rebel commander advises NK counselor to go quickly or else his brothers will pursue them. The rebel leader stops his brothers. They arrive at the China embassy only to find it has been searched. Then they make airport plans, but because they are traveling with kids, it is hard to carry them out. Suddenly, children revolt barricade them while pointing firearms and making noises that like rattling. As NK staff follows, NK kids pretend to be shot dead since they are aware of what the rebel kids are doing. To scare them and giggle as they flee, the rebellious kids suddenly ignite the ceiling. The NK personnel departs right away and arrives at the police-guarded SK embassy. RIM is requesting assistance from the SK embassy in order to survive, but the NK counselor believes he is doing so in order to convert. RIM cautions him not to second-guess his plan if there are no other choices. Staff at SK may hear police gunfire in the background. Kang and Han look out onto the balcony to see what's going on. The two query their reason for coming after recognizing RIM and NK counselor. Kang requests that they go after RIM tells him what occurred to them earlier. The ladies and kids who were accompanying them were then shown by RIM, making NK counselor furious because he knew Kang was forcing them to beg. Han orders the children to be sent away, but Kang persuades him to save them. Rebels suddenly see them and start shooting from the ground. The NK staff instantly runs for cover as the police attack the insurgents. When the rebels finally decide to go on their own, Kang and Han meet RIM at the gate and order them to depart. Finally, Han lets the NK personnel in after they had their bags, IDs, and bodies checked. Unfortunately, because there are now too many personnel protecting them, the police demand more money, so Kang makes another payment. They assemble inside at the table for a supper. However, Han trades rice with Rim and eats it, suggesting that it is clean, whereas the NK staff simply sits in dread of being poisoned. Everyone finishes their lunch soon after. Kang then departs while sneakily taking a picture of SK and NK employees. Later, in a secluded space, Rim thanks Han for giving her the insulin vial that belonged to the SK secretary. Han discovers that Rim has diabetes from her wife. After that, while he administers the insulin to himself, Rim makes it clear that they have no intention of defecting. Han's wife offers the NK staff a mosquito coil, a drink, and a place to sleep downstairs, but Rim's wife politely declines all of them. Kang creates conversion certificates for every member of the NK staff in the meantime, but the NK counselor discovers him and destroys all of the completed documents. When the two counselors do engage in combat, Kang prevails over NK counselor because he is a skilled fighter. Both groups briefly notice the two counselors arguing. Kang's activities are revealed by NK counselor. Kang argues that NK employees must convert to stop breaking the national security law. The NK personnel cannot be converted because there is no active insurrection, according to Han. Kang then inquires as to why the NK employees should even be protected in the first place. The NK counselor steps in and says the police they hired left them. Therefore, Kang asks Han if they can afford it all after explaining the police fee per person. Later, Han expresses regret to Rim for the conversion documents that were on the balcony. Following that, Rim, Han, and the two counselors talk over their strategy. Han stresses that their primary goal is to get away, not to unite the two nations. They conclude their preparations by having SK visit the Italian embassy and NK visit the Egyptian embassy. Then Rim poses the question, what if just one side is given a way out? At least some of us will depart, Han responds. At dawn, Rim, Han, and the two counselors depart for their assigned embassies in two different automobiles. A group of rebels is loitering on the road at a crossroads. When suddenly people rush their automobile, asking for a ride, the two vehicles immediately reverse their car to hide. When the rebels notice them, they move forward, preventing the rebels from shooting them. Once released, the two cars split up and move in opposite directions to their diplomatic allies. When they arrive, the two embassies have quite different outcomes. While Han is given a plane ticket for the entire SK staff, Rim is unable to obtain assistance from the Egyptian embassy. Since NKs are not permitted because they are not diplomatic allies of Italy, Han makes up the fact that NK personnel has switched sides. Kang and Han then wait for the next message from the Italian ambassador inside the Italian embassy. Han desires the survival of both groups. Later, Han and Kang run into the Italian ambassador once more and find that the SK government has officially asked Italy to help them, suggesting that everyone in Korea has a reserved seat on the evacuation plane. They must therefore show up at the Italian embassy before 4 p.m. and wait. With two brand new cars to transport everyone, Han, Rim, and the two counselors return to the SK embassy. NK counselor feels it's risky to walk outdoors once more and prefers to wait during the conversation. But Kang argues that since it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance, they just cannot wait any longer. Ultimately, both parties decide to go to the Italian embassy and board the jet. After shielding themselves from gunshots with books and bags of dirt, the two groups eventually board the four automobiles. The prayer is playing on the speaker as they depart the embassy. The four automobiles pull up to a checkpoint. Kang, who is driving the first vehicle, hands the guard his letter and passport. While the SK secretary raises their homemade white flag, a gun is drawn by the Somalian soldiers. The four automobiles are shot by Somalian soldiers, who quickly retreat. While retreating, a Somalian soldier chases them around on a jeep with a machine gun. To escape the gunfire, the NK counselor-driven automobile diverts from the gathering. In the meantime, the three vehicles come upon rebels burglarizing homes. Rebels set their vehicles on fire, destroying the literature. The three vehicles eventually approach the Italian embassy. They leave their cars, run toward the Italian embassy gate, waving their white flags, and shouting, "We are Koreans. Never shoot," to the Italian military guarding the entrance, yet they don't let the two groups inside immediately. Eventually, the car driven by NK counselor arrives, chased by the Somalian soldiers shooting down the vehicle. The Italian military commands them to cease. For the first time, South Koreans, North Koreans, Somalian soldiers, and rebels stand on the same ground without tension. When everything's quiet, Han says, "We're Korean diplomats." Afterward, Han and Kang retrieve the ones left behind in the car. To their surprise, NK Counselor is dead in his seat because he received all the gunshots during the chase earlier. At daybreak on the following day, the Italian government gives a burial service for NK Counselor. Later, the two groups board the bus, traveling safely to the airport after the Italian government requested a temporary ceasefire. The two teams board the rescue aircraft and take off for Kenya. One of the NK employees thanks Kang for assisting them. It's because their children who were left behind in NK would become orphans if the NK diplomats didn't go back to Pyongyang. Han offers Rim lodging because they lack diplomatic links with Kenya, but Rim responds that they spoke with Pyongyang last night at the Italian embassy, and they had already made accommodations for the NK employees. The Rim then expresses his gratitude to the Han. The movie ends when members of the NK and SK staff touch down at Kenya Mombasa Airport. They embrace, express gratitude, and say their goodbyes before getting off the aircraft because both of their countries dispatch teams to receive them and because they cannot see the two groups interacting outside. The two groups disembark the aircraft while acting as though they had never met, and are greeted by their respective teams. In the end, the two teams ride their vans in different directions. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and help the channel grow.